Well, it is finally spring. Well, it's been spring for a little while, but it's finally spring-like temperatures. We got 80-degree temperatures. We're starting to get the nights down, you know, about 60 degrees, something like that. So it's time to get the garden going. Finally, time to get the garden going. A little bit late. Well, actually about right on time. Mother's Day. Today is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. So anyway, this is about the time I normally plant out like my tomatoes and my peppers and all that kind of stuff. I do have a few seeds in the ground already, but I'm going to be putting pretty much everything else in. Now, I will not be putting my peppers and tomatoes out today because they need to get hardened off. Last week was just crazy stormy all week long and very cold. So, you know, high winds. We had a bad storm come through and blew down a bunch of brush and all that kind of stuff, or tree limbs and all those things. So my peppers and tomatoes have not been hardened off yet, and I need to get those hardened off. So I'll probably do that throughout this week. It looks like the weather's going to cooperate, and then get them in the ground next weekend, or maybe one night, you know, after work, something like that. But there's not much to show with, you know, planting your peppers and tomatoes. The one thing, if you're not familiar with, you know, gardening, when you plant your tomatoes, plant them very deep. So, you know, my tomato plants are about this tall. I'm going to plant them probably that deep. I'm going to pull off the bottom section of leaves, plant them just almost as deep as you can get them, because they will grow roots out through that whole entire stem and do much better if they're planted deep. Anyway, crazy windy out today, so I don't even have the peppers and tomatoes outside because it's like 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It's just stupid windy. Hopefully there's not too much wind noise. But I gotta get this garden cleaned up. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but there's just debris everywhere. I've already spent most of the morning picking up, you know, all the big limbs and that kind of stuff. I've got a huge brush pile back there now from all the limbs that were blown down around my yard, and you know, had big, huge tree limbs blown off. It was a pretty good storm that came through. So, but I got to get the rest of this stuff. I want to get, just this little sticks and things like that mostly cleaned up, because once you get plants in here, it's a little hard to do that. Now, there's a good chance that, you know, another storm's going to come through. I'm going to get more stuff in here, but still, might as well do that, take advantage of it. And with this landscape fabric that I've got out over the garden, it makes it pretty easy, honestly, to just, I'm going to sweep the stuff up. That's all I'm going to do. So anyway, I'm going to bring you guys along with me. This may not be super exciting video, what most of you guys come here for, but don't really have a choice because this is what I got to get done today. So this is what the video is about, working in the garden. And let's get to it. So this is what I'm talking about by laying this landscape fabric down. It keeps the weeds down, it helps with watering, conserves a lot of water because it holds water underneath it. But one of the other big benefits is that when it comes time to get all this stuff off of here, it's a lot easier to clean up because you can just sweep it up. And this is the kind of stuff I'm dealing with just all through the garden. Little seed pods and sticks and leaves and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of sweeping it up in a pile and then using a dustpan to kind of shovel it up. I don't know if I'm in camera or not, if you guys can see me or not, but using a dustpan to kind of scoop it up into my wheelbarrow over there, and then I'll go dump it in the compost pile. That's it. It's not too terribly exciting. You don't need to watch me do all of it. Just giving you an idea of what I'm doing here. And shouldn't take me too long. I should be able to get this done pretty quick. Well, that's pretty much cleaned up. I mean, there's still a bunch of debris up against that fence up there, but I can take care of that later. I got the bulk of it done. Had a, here, let me get these on here real quick. Can't talk and do this at the same time, apparently. And I am getting old, so knee pads are a good thing. Once we crawl around on the ground, keeps my knees a little cleaner. keeps from getting beat up too much, and it's getting harder and harder to get up and down, up and down, up and down. My hip just bothers me. So that's why I put the knee pads on, crawl around on the ground. So we're ready to start planting some seeds, and the first thing I'm going to start with is my okra. This is all okra. This whole row is okra. I got to get it out of my pocket. An okra seed, easiest thing in the world to save. If you've got heirloom seeds, you can just save them and plant them over and over again. So this is a Clemson spineless okra from last year. I just let one of the pods go dry on the vine, and then that's it. Just save it just like that. Own little container. And then we're going to get to planting these things. These are pretty easy to plant. There's not much to it, but I'll bring you along with me real quick. All right, I know I'm barely in camera, but I think that's okay. So again, okra seed, pretty easy. I'm going to break this open. Try not to throw them everywhere when I do. I should have more than enough in this one pod, but I got several pods saved just in case. So I'm going to take 2-3 seeds, just put them in the hole, push them down just a little ways. Not very far at all. I mean, that far down under the ground. They don't have to be too deep. In fact, you don't really want them real deep. You want them, you know, if you plant them too deep, you may not get good germination out of them. So that's it. I'm just going to go down this whole row, put 2 or 3 seeds in each hole, cover them up, and that's pretty much it when it comes to planting. Now, lots of people will tell you online with okra that you get better germination rates if you soak them overnight. That may be true, but I've never had a problem getting okra to germinate, so I'm really not too worried about it. I always just plant them this way. I never soak them overnight. They always do just fine, so I'm not going to bother soaking them overnight. I very seldom ever think that far ahead when it comes to starting things in the garden, and I think these are going to do just fine. All right, let me get these planted, and we'll come back. I'll show you what else I'm putting in the ground today. All right, well, I'm barely in camera, but I'm in camera. That worked out pretty well. That one piece of okra, that one pod, was the exact number of seeds I needed to plant out all those holes. 3 in each hole. The last seed in that pod was the last one. I mean, it worked out perfect. I couldn't have planted any better. I did have some more pods saved, so if I needed more seed, I thought I was going to have to go get them just for like 3 seeds, but I didn't. It worked out great. So the next thing we're doing is some green beans. And they pretty much plant out the same way. These are jade beans. So these are a bush bean. See if there's anything to talk about. It says a delicious stringless bean. It doesn't require any staking because it's a bush bean, not a pole bean. So I don't know if there's much else to say about it. I do want to talk about this real quick. You know, I had this trellis system all planned out, all these strings run down to my pea plants. That storm the other night blew a bunch of branches and things in and just tore it all up. So I'm going to go back through and rebuild it. Doesn't look like it really hurt the plants too much. I mean, I got a couple here on the end that are not looking good. I think they're not going to make it. But the rest of them look fine, even though it tore the trellis system up. But I got to go through, untangle all these strings, get them staked back out to the plants so that they'll have something to climb. These green beans don't require any kind of trellising, so it's just kind of the same thing. I'm going to put 2 in each hole just so I get good germination off of them. And then that's it. We'll go through and plant out, oh, as many as I can. And then, you know, however one package is, and then I'll succession plant these, so I'll start some new ones every couple of weeks until the end of the harvest, or until I got enough green beans that I don't feel like I need anymore. I like to can up green beans. They're one of the vegetables that we really like canned, and we can eat throughout the year, so I like to make sure I have enough of them. But anyway, like I said, nothing special about this. I'm just going to be just sticking them in the ground, same kind of thing. Don't plant them too terribly deep, just a 1/4 inch down maybe. I just put them on there, push them down a little bit, pull some dirt over the top of them, and that's it. It's planted. All right, let me get the rest of these done. We'll be back. All right, that's about it for today, really. Okra, green beans, cucumbers right here. I always grow my cucumbers on cages. So I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, yeah, like 16 cucumber plants in this little bitty area right here because I grow them vertically up these cages. I do a little bit of pruning to keep them from getting quite so bushy so they don't get over, otherwise they just get, there's so many, it's hard to find the cucumbers. But they'll grow up well. They may even grow up this greenhouse frame here, but who knows, we'll see. Tomatoes are gonna go over here, and I'm thinking about trying something new this year with my tomatoes. I think about doing some string trellising. Never done that, I've always grown my tomatoes in cages, but I think I may try some of them underneath this frame anyway. It makes an easy place to trellis them from a string and do them that way and see how they do. And compare that to the others, because I may switch over to that. It certainly would take up a lot less room than all these tomato cages, and storing it would be a lot easier, and just a lot of benefits to that if it works well. So I think I may switch over to that. Well, we'll see. I'll test it out this year, and then I'll make a decision on whether I'm going to switch over to it or not. One thing I didn't mention, I should have mentioned probably earlier, if you're new to gardening, I talked about hardening off my tomatoes and peppers before they go in the ground. And really what that means is they've been inside under grow lights, growing in pots, and you don't want to just take them from that protected, nice, perfect environment and put them out in the harsh sun and the harsh outdoors just like that. So you want to ease them into that a little bit. And you can read online about hardening off plants. And they make it sound more complicated than it needs to be in most cases. Basically, what I do is I bring them out, put them outside in the shade, a couple of hours, take them back in. The next day I'll bring them out, put them in the shade for most of the day, and then the next day I try to get them out in the sunshine for 3 or 4 hours, and then usually after that they're fine. I can just stick them out in the garden at that point. But just it takes a couple of days to harden them off, and they'll go into shock if I just throw them out here, harsh sun, wind, all that kind of stuff beating down on them. The last thing I need to do is get my string trellis all rebuilt for my peas, that's what they're called, but I think I'll wait and do that a little bit later. I got ribs cooking on the smoker right now I need to go attend to, and it's getting kind of late in the day. The weekends seem to be just getting shorter and shorter. It's like there's just not enough time to get everything done in the weekend, and you work a full-time job during the week, it's hard to get anything done during the week either, but the weather's finally turned nice, so at least we can get out here and work. What else? Garlic is growing over here. I'll take you around and show you what is growing. Besides the peas, you already saw the peas. Oh, let me back up. If you're new to gardening, talk about plant spacing. You noticed probably when I was planting my green beans, I had 3 rows of holes there. Those holes are about 4 inches apart. Now I did not plant down the middle row, I just planted on the sides, but about 4 inches apart. That works great for green beans. They get a little bushy, so I don't like to plant them that close to the rows that close together. I like to go about 10 inches or so between the rows, but 4 inches between the plants in the rows is fine. Now okra, on the other hand, about 6 inches, and I go 6 inches on center all the way down. So there's 6 inches from every plant, and there is 3 rows of them. So 6 inches this way, 6 inches that way. So I got 3 rows, 6 inches apart, and then plants 6 inches apart all the way down. And that works fine for okra. It grows tall and it branches out a little, but it's not too bad. It doesn't get real bushy like a lot of other plants do. All right, so the other things I got growing, let me get the camera here. We'll go over and take a look at those real quick. I'm lazy, so I'm gonna just stand here and show you. So we got, let's see, we got my garlic going over there. That's been going for quite a while. It's doing well. That was planted last, like August, and it's May now. These are onions growing right here, just green onions. They're doing great. I started those from seed early January-ish. And then over here I've got some cilantro growing. That's the green you can see right there. I planted radish over here, but it never came up, so I think I'm gonna have to restart that. And then on this side I've got chives going that looks like they're just now starting to come up. I planted those a while back. They took a while to get going, but now they are going. And then of course the peas over there. I don't know if you can see them over that direction. And then the rest of this row right here primarily is going to be tomatoes, peppers down at the end, squash down there at the very end. I got another couple of squash down here. They haven't sprouted yet, but I got them started. Here, let me put this back on. When I had the greenhouse going, I did start some seeds in here, and the squash plants that I started in here did start, but they didn't, it's hard to explain what happened exactly, but I got I had to take the greenhouse cover off. The wind was just tearing it up. So, whoever said it was probably a waste of money was probably right. A waste of money to spend money on this, greenhouse, $250. I just couldn't keep the wind from blowing through the doors and trying to tear the whole thing up. but it's under warranty, so I'm going to contact the company and see what we can do about that. I'll report back on that later. But my point is I had to take the greenhouse cover off, and then it got pretty cold. The plants started getting pretty stressed, and then some bugs kind of came in. I don't even know what kind of bug, but something ate them up. They didn't survive. So I'm starting over with those. I've just got those seeds in the ground about a week now. It's pretty chilly last week, so I'm not surprised they didn't sprout, but they should still be good. So we'll see. Now, the only thing left to do, I've got all these seeds in the garden. I got to keep them watered. Got to keep them damp or they're not going to sprout. So I'll be watering probably every day. I'm not going to water tonight because we had a ton of rain the last couple of days. And the ground's still pretty damp, so I'm not going to bother with it tonight, but probably tomorrow I'll run the sprinklers, wet everything down really good, and then do that every day if there's no rain until everything sprouts, and then I can kind of back off the watering just a little bit. But that's it. Like I said, not a terribly exciting video, maybe not what you come to my channel to see all the time, but I do talk about gardening a lot, and to me gardening is pretty simple. It's really not that complex. I just throw some compost down on the beds, once a year, and that's it. And just plant into it. There's not really much else to do, but keep it watered and, those kinds of things. So, thanks for coming along with me, spending a little bit of time working in the garden. That was my weekend chore for this weekend, and I got it done. So, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video, and as always, God bless.